Welcome to the Authentic Leaders Rising podcast, where high achieving entrepreneurs and leaders come to receive deep, insightful conversations and practical guidance to move from hustle to flow without sacrificing their authentic self and the results. I am your host and Chief Energy Officer, Tammy Cho, a former patient care leader turned international best-selling author, speaker, and face and body analysis expert. Get ready to lead your authenticity, lead your energy, and lead your impact. Hi there. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're listening in or watching in. Welcome to you. Today, I want to dive into this topic of leadership presence. Now, this is something that is maybe less spoken about, our presence that we bring to things, but it filters through everything we do, whether that's in how we show up for our business. It filters through how we lead our teams. It filters through how we choose to show up as a parent and to really stand in our leadership presence in our lives. And this topic came to me because of a recent experience I've had speaking on stage for the first time in front of people leaders, HR, talent acquisition leaders of companies like Costco and Home Depot and such, right? And I had the privilege to be on stage for the first time. And I want to share things that I've learned showing up on the stage, because I started off, I was going to be higher on the agenda, but I ended up being lower on the agenda. So I ended up being able to watch everyone's presentation mostly before my own, right? And so obviously for my first time, I did have some jitters. It definitely did come up within myself, but I had the chance to really witness all these different speakers speaking and the reaction they were getting to people in the room. And I want to share on my experience on stepping into my leadership presence on stage, because how we show up in a room, on stage, online, right? And even though this is my first time showing up on stage, I truly commanded the room. I showed up in my energy essence. I can see that when I was speaking, every single person in that room was paying attention. And not only that, the results I got from doing this talk, with the amount of people that wanted to stay connected with me on my newsletter, the amount of people that came up to me and to share their experience of my presentation and how it really touched them, and people coming up to me wanting to learn how they could get started to work with me. And for anyone that's in the speaking arena, right, this is the best thing that you could ask: to speak, to influence, to impact, and income, to have people want to work with you, right? And another piece I bring to this, of course, is the fact that it was my very first time. It was my very first time. And so I was able to really assess and use my intuition to look at what's working, what's not, and to really bring this into light and to apply it within myself on stage for my very first time. It gives me very much that beginner's eye. So I want to share that with all of you today, because being able to be a leader, show up in our presence, and master the room with our energy, it's actually a very, very crucial step, because it's the beingness of how we show up that actually creates our strategies, our mindset, and the outcome that we're looking to achieve, which is often this income. It's our influence. It's the impact we want to make in the world. And being able to bring this into how we're showing up in our speaking, whether in a room or online or on stage, is super important in the space that we're playing in today, because it is very noisy and people need to be able to feel you. How I navigated this within myself. So let me share. And so when I was sitting there getting myself all prepared, yes, I had an outline. I think it's a good idea to always have an outline, unless you're really, really seasoned. And even some of those people I talk to, they always suggest having some sort of outline there to keep you on track. But what is most crucial in showing up on stage and in your leadership presence is staying connected to your vision and your why. Why are you doing all of this anyway? Why are you choosing to speak on stage? Why are you showing up in your business in this way? And I think that we've all heard this to some extent. And yet, there's a difference between connecting to your why at some point and then going through doing all the things that you're wanting to create this impact versus actually staying very connected to it and letting that lead the show. Because that's a very important part of staying in energy alignment, not just knowing what our why is, knowing what our vision is, but to actually feel it within our bodies. And so let me ask you, do you feel connected to your mission? Do you feel connected to your why? Whether this is speaking or in your business. And if it's not in your business, how about your life? Because this mission will guide how you choose to show up in your life, in your presence, if you allow it to. And so let me ask you that and to really pause and reflect because the second piece to all of this is really in our conviction, in the messaging that we're sharing. Because these are the pieces, like we're as convicted as we feel connected to what we're saying. And so if you practice your presentation and you're going out there with a very practiced message, and maybe you're really good at it. Maybe you're speaking in front of your teams and your business clients, whatever that is for you, and you've practiced it for a while. But how connected are you to that messaging, to what you're communicating? What is your level of conviction, believing that what you're sharing is in entire alignment to what you're meant to do and to how you're sharing this to the teams outside of you, to the people on that stage? Because these two factors alone will direct your energy and your connection to the emotion within your body is what is going to actually land. Because if you've been on this journey long enough, we are creating change. We are transferring our energy, our belief, our vision, what we know is possible to our audience through our energy, through our impact, through our presence. And this is the most beautiful thing because the more we are actually connected to ourselves, the more intimacy we have within ourselves to our messaging, to our why, and we actually allow ourselves to connect and feel it in our bodies to really expand your energy and really open up who you are, opening up all your chakras and all your pieces within yourself, because it's this energy that exudes from our beingness and how we show up that is actually creating the presence in the room. And it's the degree we're connected to our emotions. Yet when we look at things like exhaustion and burnout, we look at things like feeling like an imposter, that we're not good enough, or things like we self-sabotage ourselves. We say we're going to do the thing that we don't. All of these things are stemming from our relationship to our emotions, our intimacy with our emotions. And so the degree of presence has everything to do with our energy alignment and how we show up in our presence. Does that make sense? These are some higher level keys to really showing up in our presence, the connection to our vision and purpose, and how we're showing up in our why, the conviction, and how we speak our messaging. And there's also another piece is that when you are speaking, are you just speaking or are you paying attention to the audience? Are you in the spacing of your words? Is it landing? Are you able to be so connected to yourself and out of your head that when you are speaking, it's actually reaching the audience and you can feel the connection? And it's created actually by a slowing down to speaking with emotion in your words and actually feeling it in your body. And actually, in those moments, speaking the words and looking at the person, holding those moments of presence so that they can have time to have it land in their body. Or are you kind of rushing through the words? Because depending, what is it that you do? Are you transformational entrepreneur? Are you here to make an impact? Because this is exactly how it happens. This is how I commanded the presence of the room as I was speaking. I was giving myself space to actually be connected with how I was feeling in my words and directing the energy with intention to each person I was making eye contact with. And to be present enough to see how it's landing for that person and to look at that room and be able to read the room and change the degree of beingness, the tone of my voice, the speed I am talking, all these things that our beingness gets to be expressed through. We already learned that oftentimes it's not in the actual words we're saying, right? It's in all the other things, the pitch, the tone, how we're speaking. These are the things that we are expressing our beingness through. The question is, are you connected to your emotionality? Are you connected to yourself in a way that you feel like you belong in your body in that moment? And you're yielding those words from your heart, from your body, like your body and your alignment and your facial expression. It's all in alignment, directing this message that you're speaking in conviction to the people that are around you. And what I saw when I was applying these things is that everyone was paying attention. Everyone was facing me. And being that I was able to witness all these other presentations, there are people distracted on their phone and there's people having side conversations. But everyone was looking at me because I was convicted, embodied in my messaging and what I was speaking to the room. And so this is what I'm bringing to you to really bring this into the highlight, how this degree of presence, if you're able to show up in your life, connected and aligned, energy aligned in this way, and to transfer our energy to create that impact and presence in others. Because there's something called mirror neurons where we're mirroring each other in the sense that the way we choose to lead the room and our energy and how we breathe, it's filtered through the degree of energy alignment someone has versus what someone else is showing up as. And the person that has the highest alignment and coherence in their energy starts to actually neutralize in the other person or persons. And so just by being who we are in our authentic, aligned self, we are creating that energy impact in order to open up someone to actually receive your message. So even though this was my very first time speaking on stage, because of the energy leadership I do and how I'm in tuned with what is happening and how I allow myself to be in my emotions, I allow myself to have my emotions be in the safety of my body, in my energy, and I don't judge it. I bring all these parts of me to the show and how I showed up. The last piece that is super important that I do want to highlight because I had the jitters. I felt fear. When I was sitting there, I had a lot of fear come up. It's not that I'm this perfect human. Like, it's very natural to feel scared if you're going on stage. I want to speak to this a little bit because sometimes when we're showing up in our leadership presence, it has a lot to doing with not feeling like we could really speak that big or that big idea, that really be that innovative or this creative and to share the idea that's outside the box. But that's exactly what is needed in the world today. We need innovators. We need creative ideas. We need like more people that are willing to stand in their uniqueness. And so this is what I want to speak about is that when we are going out there, yes, we need to focus on ourselves, but are we placing so much attention on ourselves that we're not placing it on other people? Because when we are connected to our why and we are focused on really creating this impact outside of ourselves, the attention is no longer on ourselves. And there's a caveat. It's not about more for someone else and focused on other people, but it's also knowing how to care for ourselves. So as I was sitting there and I had this voice come up several times, it's like, oh, I'm so scared. And I could feel the flutter in my heart and the nervousness in my body. And every time it came up, I just breathed and took a breath and I just allowed it to be there. And I said that we got this. And I would visualize the feeling. I would transform that energy of fear into how I wanted to show up on stage. And every time it came up, it was my teacher on how to really transform the energy, because emotion is energy in motion or out of motion. But if you don't allow yourself to feel it and hold it down, it just starts building. And so I didn't hold it down. I allowed it to come out. I didn't allow it to stay around a long time, because once I moved it, I transformed it to what I actually wanted. Because the harder we try to push down these feelings, it's like the more energy it takes to do that. And then it drains your energy to actually showing up in the energy leadership presence that you're wanting. And one other important piece that I want to share with you, and I speak about a lot about worthiness and how we all have this set point. And guess what? Like, I was going over and above my set point, speaking on a stage for the first time. It's any first time for anything, right? We're going to hit some sort of worthiness threshold, set point within ourselves. And as the fear was coming out, I took a breath and I tuned into myself and I asked myself what I needed. And it came up in my intuition. And what I needed was to tell myself I was worthy. I was worthy of speaking on stage. And I said, I am worthy of speaking on stage. And guess what? My whole nervous system calmed down. I felt a lot of peace within myself. And these are the moments, right? There's times that we know this, we tell ourselves this. The difference is that we're saying it, and I was really feeling that way. I was allowing myself to feel that, because there's younger aspects that believe something different. And yes, many people say it's like a way to train ourselves, to rewire ourselves and things like that. But if we bring the humanness to it, it's like a younger emotional part of ourselves that doesn't know that yet. And once I communicated this and held compassion and love for myself in this way, whole nervous system just calmed down. And so it truly comes back down to learning how to master your inner game. Oftentimes, we're mastering everything else but our emotions, but it's truly key. It's the common thread of being human, of caring enough about ourselves, caring enough about the impact we're meant to make, to actually live up to our energy, presence, and leadership in this way. I know I said a lot on this episode. Like, I just pick the pieces, like where and how are you showing up in these different ways in your life? Where are you allowing yourself to feel? When are you avoiding the feeling? When are you leading in your full presence? Are you connected to your body in a way that you can feel when your heart closes and when it's opening? Or can you not feel your heart? Do you feel a disconnection? Because if we could show up in a way that we're so connected to ourselves, that we have so much compassion for ourselves, if we could do this, our life will actually start to align. I've seen this again and again. When we allow ourselves to show up in our authentic energy leadership, things become more efficient. Things start to align. Things start to work. And the way we deal with whatever comes up, we're able to just surrender and let go. But if we're running away from our energy, our emotions, and we're leading just under our set point, at some level, we're recreating the same thing. We're replaying the patterns, we're replaying the energy patterns, we're replaying the results that's happening in our lives. So, this leadership presence, aligning yourself to your beingness, allowing yourself to be who you truly are in your authenticity, that's what is commanding change in your life. These are the moments, allowing yourself to step in our leadership presence, to truly lead in a way that doesn't leave ourselves behind. Because you know what? We're just not leading people outside of ourselves. We're consistent. We need to step deeper in our self leadership, learning the dynamic of how much to receive and to give to other people. So being in this, allowing myself to be myself, connected to my vision, connected to my why, conviction in my messaging, mastering my inner and outer game, allowing myself to be so present with myself and so present to the other people around me, and reminding myself that I'm worthy. Because often the things that stop us is all these things, all these mental chatters and emotions that think that we're not worthy. I hope that this message today has landed for you, how I took my energetic presence, my leadership presence, and how I was able to master the room on my very first talk on stage, commanding the intention, the results, to have it land in a way that it would be received. This is the power of authentic energy leadership. This is the power of fully allowing yourself to be who you are, all parts of you. And often the missing piece is our comfort with turning into places, turning towards places in our emotions that are running the show when we don't turn there. Like we are trying to do all these things, but we're running away from ourselves at some level or not connecting to it. If you've been in a place where you feel like you've hit a plateau, you feel like, yeah, I feel kind of disconnected, like I'm going through everything, I'm doing everything right, but somehow I just don't feel happy. I feel kind of empty or unfulfilled. Please reach out. Please reach out because you deserve more. There's more for you above that set point. This is what I specialize in, to really help someone build the emotional resilience, but the leadership in that, and to raise your set point that you've been living life from, because everything you want is on the other side. So please go to pathtotheheart.com/links. You could book a call with me, a free call with me, so we could dive deeper into where you're at and where you want to go. And even though you don't know where that is exactly, that's what I help people with, because when we hit set points in our lives, often we don't know because we're not connected to it. I just want to leave that there because there's actually a lot of people that don't actually know what they want and they're not connecting to it anyway, or they know what they want and they're not connected to it, or they don't know what they want, but we feel like we got to wear the strong mask to hold ourselves back there. I invite you to a compassionate space of non-judgment and to have a call where you are held and cared for and to be witnessed in this way of vulnerability, because it's on the other side of allowing yourself to be vulnerable. And maybe this call is the first step for you. Lots of love to you. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope it landed in your heart. I hope you can feel that there's so much more for you and what life has to offer and your highest potential and the full expression of your gifts. So much love. I'll talk to you later. Please connect with me down in the show notes. I'll see you on the next episode. Okay, bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Authentic Leaders Rising podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode, and leave us a review so others can find the life-changing content that we're sharing here. We are starting our movement on our way to number 1, and we need your help to get there. If you'd like to connect with other high-achieving entrepreneurs and leaders who are also on their authentic, energetic leadership journey, join our free Facebook community, Energetically Aligned Leaders. Go to pathtotheheart.com/links to join the Facebook group, book your personalized face analysis experience, or to access our resources.